August 8th, 1941. Belyayevka, Ukraine. A 24-year-old history student crouched behind rubble, watching through her rifle's scope, as a German sniper prepared to kill a Soviet soldier hiding 40 meters away. Lyudmila Pavlichenko, 4 months in the Red Army, 0 confirmed kills, 309 to go. The Wehrmacht had committed 3 full divisions to capture Odessa, 150,000 German troops advancing against outnumbered Soviet defenders. Pavlichenko had volunteered for a sniper unit that was losing soldiers faster than it could train them. She had been on the front lines for 6 hours, no sleep, no food, just her Mosin Nagant rifle, 40 rounds of ammunition, and a fury wrapped in determination. 11 days earlier, her university in Kiev had been bombed. 73 students killed. Her professor, Dr. Anatoly Vulov, pulled from the rubble after 2 hours, dead. Her closest friend Natasha died trapped in the burning library. Pavlichenko enlisted the next morning. The recruiting officer told her to become a nurse. Women belonged in medical units, not combat. Pavlichenko informed him she had been shooting since age 14, marksman certificates from youth competitions, top scores in regional matches. The officer laughed. Shooting targets wasn't combat. Combat was blood and death. Women couldn't handle it. Pavlichenko told him to test her. The officer pointed to a fence post 100 meters away. She placed 5 rounds through the center. He stopped laughing. She was assigned to the 25th Rifle Division as a sniper. That was 4 months ago. Now she watched Germans killing her comrades while her first shot remained unfired. The German sniper sat 280 meters away, positioned behind a destroyed farmhouse wall. Through a crack in the masonry, his helmet was visible. He was tracking a Soviet soldier, waiting for movement. The Soviet soldier was Sergeant Dmitry Kravchenko, 32 years old, married, 2 children. Pavlichenko had met him the previous day. He had shared his bread when she hadn't eaten in 18 hours. Now he was about to die because he didn't know a German was aiming at him. Pavlichenko raised her rifle, hands steady, breathing controlled. Her instructor's voice echoed, "Don't think about killing, think about solving a problem. Distance, wind, target movement, mathematics, not murder. 280 meters, light crosswind from the west. Target stationary." She adjusted for windage, settled the crosshairs on the crack where the German's helmet showed. This moment would define everything. Either she could kill or she couldn't. Either she was a soldier or a student pretending to be one. She squeezed. The Mosin Nagant kicked against her shoulder. The shot cracked across the battlefield. Through her scope, the German's helmet jerked backward, then disappeared. Kravchenko looked around, confused. Pavlichenko chambered another round, scanned for threats. Nothing moved. She had just killed her first German soldier, felt nothing, no guilt, no satisfaction. Just one immediate question: where's the next one? That was August 8th, 1941. By May 1942, Lyudmila Pavlichenko would record 309 confirmed kills, including 36 enemy snipers. She would become the deadliest female sniper in history. And the technique that made it possible was something Soviet doctrine explicitly forbade. She used herself as bait. Act 1. The doctrine of death. The first sniper Pavlichenko lost was Lieutenant Anna Morozova. August 19th, 1941. Morozova had been a sniper for 8 months. 47 confirmed kills. Experienced, professional, by the book. Soviet sniper doctrine was clear. Never expose your position. Find concealment. Take your shot. Move immediately to a secondary position. Never stay in one place more than 30 minutes. Never fire more than 3 shots from the same location. Never engage without a clean exit route. Morozova followed every rule. She positioned herself in a bombed apartment building, 3rd floor. Excellent sightlines. 2 exit routes planned. She engaged a German machine gun crew at 320 meters. 1 shot, 1 kill. Moved to her secondary position on the 2nd floor. Waited 20 minutes. Engaged a German officer at 280 meters. Clean kill. Started moving to her tertiary position on the ground floor. A German sniper shot her through the stairwell window. Single shot to the chest. She died before medics arrived. The German had been tracking her, watched her first shot, predicted her movement pattern, positioned himself to intercept. Morozova never saw him. She followed doctrine perfectly and died anyway. Pavlichenko was in the same building 1 floor below. She heard the shot, heard Morozova fall, heard the Germans laughing. The German who killed Morozova was Hans Becker, Wehrmacht sniper, 89 confirmed kills, specialist in counter-sniper operations. Becker hunted Soviet snipers the way Pavlichenko hunted German soldiers. His pattern was consistent: wait for Soviet snipers to engage, track their positions, anticipate their movements, kill them when they relocated. Soviet doctrine made his job easier. Follow the rules, become predictable, die. The second sniper Pavlichenko lost was Corporal Viktor Stepanov. August 27th, Stepanov was 19 years old, sniper for 6 weeks, 11 confirmed kills. Eager to prove himself, he set up in a drainage ditch 400 meters from German lines. Perfect concealment, good sight lines, textbook positioning. He engaged a German patrol at dawn. 2 shots, 2 kills. Germans scattered. Stepanov followed doctrine, stayed low, waited 15 minutes, prepared to move to his secondary position. A German artillery shell landed directly in his ditch. Nothing left to bury. The Germans had called in artillery based on where they estimated the sniper was hiding. Standard counter-sniper tactic. Observe the shot, estimate position, saturate the area with explosives. Stepanov's concealment was perfect. His shot placement was excellent. His adherence to doctrine was flawless. He died because the Germans knew exactly how Soviet snipers operated. By September, Pavlichenko had watched 7 snipers die. Every single one followed doctrine. Every single one died because they were predictable. German counter-sniper units were too skilled. They knew Soviet tactics. They knew Soviet positioning. They knew Soviet movement patterns. Fighting by the book meant dying by the book. Pavlichenko studied how each engagement developed. Same pattern every time. Soviet sniper takes position, engages target. Germans triangulate the shot. Counter-sniper or artillery responds. Soviet sniper dies or retreats. The problem wasn't marksmanship. Soviet snipers could shoot. The problem was that they fought defensively, waited for targets, took shots when opportunities appeared, never initiated, never controlled the engagement, never made the Germans react to them. German snipers, especially experienced ones like Becker, hunted actively. They didn't wait for targets. They created them. They forced Soviet snipers to expose themselves, then killed them. Pavlichenko needed to reverse that dynamic, stop being prey, become predator. But Soviet doctrine was explicit. Concealment is survival. Exposure is death. Never compromise your position. Never give the enemy a target. The doctrine made sense in theory. In practice, it was a death sentence. Pavlichenko decided to do something completely illegal. She would expose herself deliberately, make herself visible, draw fire, then kill whoever shot at her. It was insane. It violated every principle of sniper warfare. It would probably get her killed, but 7 snipers were dead. Pavlichenko refused to be the 8th. Act 2. The trap. The technique required precision timing, perfect positioning, and absolute nerve. Pavlichenko would set up 2 nests, not one, primary and secondary, but only 4 to 6 meters apart, close enough that she could move between them in under 3 seconds. She would place a decoy in the primary nest, a helmet on a stick, a spare sleeve stuffed with straw, anything that looked like a person from 300 meters away. She would hide in the secondary nest, watching. When a German sniper shot at the decoy, muzzle flash would give away their position. Pavlichenko would have 2 to 4 seconds before they realized the decoy was fake. In those seconds, she would acquire the target, aim, fire, 1 shot. If she missed, the German would know her real position. She would be dead. If she hit, she would move immediately, reset the trap, do it again. The plan was suicidal. Soviet command would court-martial her if they discovered it. Exposing a position deliberately, even a fake one, was tactical insanity. But Pavlichenko had watched too many friends die following doctrine. She tested the technique on September 3rd, 1941. Early morning, German lines 340 meters away. She set up in a ruined cellar near the front, 2 shooting positions, one with a helmet propped on debris, positioned to look like a sniper observing German positions. She waited in the secondary position 5 meters to the right, completely concealed. Her rifle aimed at the area where a German counter-sniper would most likely position himself. 45 minutes passed. Nothing moved. Pavlichenko's muscles ached from staying motionless. Her eyes watered from staring through the scope. Insects crawled across her hands. She didn't move. At 6:17 a.m., a shot cracked across no man's land. The helmet in her primary nest jerked backward. Someone had taken the bait. Pavlichenko scanned the German lines. There, 320 meters away, muzzle flash, a figure shifting position behind a brick wall. She had 3 seconds. Her crosshairs settled on the figure. She couldn't see details, just a shape. She fired. The figure dropped. She didn't wait to confirm. She abandoned both positions, moved 40 meters west, set up in a different building. Through her scope, she watched the brick wall where the German had been. 2 German soldiers appeared, dragging a body. Confirmed kill. The technique worked. Over the next 6 weeks, Pavlichenko refined the method. She learned exactly how long to wait, how to position decoys, how to predict where German snipers would set up. She studied their patterns obsessively. German snipers preferred elevated positions, 2nd or 3rd floor buildings. They avoided ground level because Soviet artillery targeted those first. They positioned themselves with the sun at their backs when possible. They rarely changed positions during daylight. Pavlichenko used all of this. She set her decoys to be visible from elevated German positions. She timed operations for when the sun would be in German snipers' eyes, not hers. She built her secondary nests at ground level where Germans wouldn't expect her. She treated every engagement like chess. The decoy was her opening move. The German's shot was their response. Her kill shot was checkmate. By October, Pavlichenko had 78 confirmed kills. 22 of them were German snipers. Word spread through Soviet units. The woman sniper who hunted the hunters. Act 3. The railway junction, a lieutenant named Volkov came to Pavlichenko on October the 12th. His platoon had lost 9 men to a German sniper in 4 days. The sniper operated near a railway junction. Shot from different positions. Killed officers, radio operators, machine gunners. anyone important. Volkov's men were terrified. They refused to move during daylight. The entire platoon was paralyzed. Volkov asked Pavlichenko to kill the German. She said yes, not because of the vodka Volkov offered, because she remembered Morozova, because she remembered Stepanov, because German snipers had killed 7 of her friends, and she wanted revenge for every single one. She studied the railway junction for 2 days, watched through binoculars from 800 meters away, mapped every position with sight lines, counted buildings, measured distances, noted wind patterns. The German was smart, never shot from the same place twice, never established a pattern, but he had to shoot, and when he shot, he had to be somewhere. Pavlichenko identified 11 possible positions, too many to watch simultaneously. She needed to force the German to reveal himself. She set up 5 meters from where Volkov's men congregated, made a decoy that looked like a Soviet officer, put it in a position visible from 8 of the 11 possible German positions. Then she hid 12 meters away, rifle aimed at the most likely German location. 6:30 a.m. The decoy stood in the open for 40 minutes. Nothing happened. Pavlichenko stayed motionless. Her legs cramped. Her back ached. She didn't move. At 7:11 a.m., the shot came. The decoy's helmet spun away. Pavlichenko saw the muzzle flash. 420 meters. Inside a train car. The German had positioned himself inside a destroyed boxcar. Brilliant hiding spot. Pavlichenko had considered it unlikely because the boxcar was exposed to Soviet artillery. But the German had calculated that Soviet forces wouldn't waste shells on a single boxcar. He'd been right until now. Pavlichenko adjusted for distance and wind. The German was moving inside the boxcar. She could see his shape through the open door. She had maybe 5 seconds before he realized the decoy was fake. She fired. Through her scope, she saw the German jerk backward. He didn't fall. He stumbled. She'd hit him, but not fatally. He was wounded, trying to escape. She chambered another round, fired again. The German dropped. Volkov's men moved in afterward, found the German dead inside the boxcar. 2 shots, one through the shoulder, one through the head. His logbook listed 67 confirmed kills. Volkov asked Pavlichenko how she'd known where he was. She said she didn't. She just made him shoot first. Then she killed him. Simple mathematics. Volkov said it wasn't mathematics. It was courage or insanity. Probably both. Act 4. The hunter becomes the hunted. German units put a bounty on her. 100 Reichsmarks, then 500, then 1,000. The price kept rising with her kill count. German propaganda broadcasts mentioned her by name, called her the Devil Woman, said she was a myth, said no woman could kill that many Germans. Pavlichenko found it funny. The Germans were so terrified they couldn't believe she existed. Scared enemies made mistakes, and Pavlichenko punished every mistake. Between October and November 1941, her kill count climbed past 150. The railway junction sniper, a machine gun crew near the docks, 2 more counter-snipers who'd been hunting Soviet officers. She refined her technique with each engagement. The decoy placement, the timing, the secondary nest positioning. What had been improvisation became system. What had been desperation became doctrine. Soviet command noticed. Her methods started appearing in training manuals. Other snipers requested to shadow her, learn her system. But this brought a new problem. Pavlichenko was no longer hunting. She was being hunted. The engagement that made her legendary happened on November the 7th, 1941. German forces were pushing hard on Sevastopol. Soviet defenders were holding by their fingernails. The siege was brutal. Food running out, ammunition rationed, medical supplies nearly gone. And a German sniper had killed 11 Soviet soldiers in 3 days. Officers, sergeants, anyone who gave orders. The sniper was systematically decapitating Soviet command structure. Nobody could locate him. Nobody could counter him. He took one shot, then vanished. Major Chernov called Pavlichenko to headquarters, showed her photographs of the dead, entry wounds, perfect placement. Every shot fatal, no wounded, just dead. The German was exceptionally skilled. Chernov said the entire command structure was paralyzed. Officers were afraid to show themselves. Sergeants were refusing to give orders in the open. The sniper was winning through terror. He wasn't just killing people, he was destroying morale. Soviet command asked Pavlichenko to find him. They gave her 48 hours. If she couldn't kill him, the entire sector might collapse. Commanders would refuse to lead. Units would fragment. The German offensive would break through. 48 hours. One sniper against another. Winner takes the sector. Loser dies. Pavlichenko accepted. She had no choice. This was what she trained for. This was why she existed on this battlefield. To kill German snipers. To be better than them. To prove that courage and innovation could defeat experience and skill. She studied the kill locations. All within a 400-meter radius. All during early morning between 5:45 and 7:30 a.m. All single shots to the head or chest. Precision work. The German was good, very good. She plotted the angles on a map. Every kill came from a slightly different direction. Northeast one day, southwest the next, northwest after that. The German was mobile, changed positions constantly, never shot from the same place twice, never established a pattern. He was following doctrine perfectly. He was everything Morozova had been, everything Soviet doctrine taught. And Morozova was dead. Pavlichenko needed to think differently. She studied the terrain with Lieutenant Boris, a reconnaissance officer who'd survived the siege of Odessa. Boris knew Sevastopol better than anyone. Every street, every ruin, every crater. They walked the perimeter at night. Dangerous work. German patrols were active, but Pavlichenko needed to see the battlefield from ground level, needed to understand sightlines, needed to think like the German. The area was urban ruins, collapsed buildings, rubble streets, shell craters everywhere, 1,000 hiding places. The German could be anywhere, but he had to see his targets, which meant he needed sightlines, clear views, unobstructed angles. Pavlichenko mapped every position with clear views of where Soviet officers congregated: command post, supply depot, communication center, observation posts. She identified 14 potential sniper positions, buildings with intact upper floors, ruins with good concealment, positions that offered multiple escape routes, too many to watch simultaneously. She needed to narrow it down. The Germans shot in early morning. Why? Lighting, routine, wind conditions. Pavlichenko thought about it for hours, lay in her bunk staring at the ceiling, running scenarios. Early morning meant Soviet officers were visible, moving between positions, checking defenses, giving orders. First light meant soldiers were tired, less alert. Guards were changing shifts. Attention was divided. The German was hunting during shift change. That meant he was watching specific locations at specific times. He knew Soviet routines. He'd studied them. He was patient. He was smart. He was everything Pavlichenko had to beat. Pavlichenko picked the 3 most likely positions based on sightlines and escape routes. North tower of a destroyed church, third floor of a collapsed apartment building, rooftop of a former school. All had perfect views of Soviet command areas. All offered multiple exit routes. All were elevated enough to provide advantage. Then she did something even more insane than her normal tactics. She decided to become the bait herself. Not a decoy, not a helmet on a stick. Herself, standing in the open, making herself the most valuable target on the battlefield. If the German took the shot, she would have maybe 1.5 seconds to react. If she was wrong about his position, she would be dead before she hit the ground. If she was right, she would have one chance to dive, acquire the target, and fire before he repositioned. One chance, one moment, everything on the line. Act 5. The duel, November 8th, 1941. 5:42 a.m. Pavlichenko wore an officer's coat borrowed from a dead lieutenant, too big for her, but recognizable from a distance. She stood in the open near the command post, right where officers usually gathered for morning briefing, made herself a target, exposed, vulnerable, alone. Her rifle was 4 meters away, propped behind rubble, aimed at the most likely German position, the destroyed church tower. If she was wrong about the location, she would be dead before she could react. If she was right, she would have maybe 2 seconds to dive, grab the rifle, acquire the target, fire. 2 seconds between life and death. 2 seconds to prove she was better than him. She stood there for 17 minutes. Each minute felt like an hour, exposed. Every nerve screaming at her to take cover, every instinct telling her this was suicide. Her hands stayed at her sides, relaxed, had to look natural, had to look like a real officer, not bait. Wind blew cold across the ruins. She could hear distant artillery, machine gun fire to the east, normal battlefield sounds. Nothing moved in the German positions. Maybe the German wasn't there. Maybe he'd repositioned during the night. Maybe he'd been killed by artillery. Maybe this entire plan was based on faulty intelligence and she was standing in the open for nothing. Or maybe he was watching her right now, crosshairs centered on her chest, finger on the trigger, waiting for the perfect moment. Her heart pounded. Sweat ran down her back despite the cold. She counted seconds, 120 seconds standing in the open, 120 seconds of being a target. Nothing happened. The shot came at 5:59 a.m. Pavlichenko heard it before she felt it. The crack of a rifle. Distinct sound. Mauser car, 98. The snap of a bullet passing centimeters from her head. So close she felt the air displacement. So close it parted her hair. She dove left, not back. Left toward her rifle. Hit the ground hard. Ignored the pain. Grabbed her rifle. Her hands found it instantly. Muscle memory. She'd positioned it perfectly. Swung the barrel toward the church tower. Scanned through the scope. There. 300 meters, third floor of the destroyed bell tower, a figure moving back from an opening. He'd taken the shot. He was repositioning, moving back into shadow. She had maybe 3 seconds before he was concealed completely. Pavlichenko didn't take time to aim perfectly, didn't calculate wind, didn't adjust for exact distance, just pointed and fired. Instinct shot. The kind of shot instructors say never to take. The kind of shot that gets you killed in combat. Her rifle kicked against her shoulder. Through the scope, she saw the figure jerk, saw him stagger, saw him fall backward into darkness. She didn't know if she'd hit him or if he'd taken cover. She stayed down, watched, waited, chambered another round, kept her scope on the tower opening. If he appeared again, she would fire again and again until one of them was dead. 3 minutes passed. Nothing moved in the tower. No return fire. No movement. Either he was dead or he was playing the same game, waiting for her to expose herself again. Pavlichenko didn't move. She'd learned patience, learned that the sniper who moved first usually died first. 10 minutes passed. The sun was rising. More light meant more visibility, more risk. Soviet soldiers were starting their morning routines, officers emerging from bunkers. If the German was still alive, he had more targets now, but he didn't shoot. 15 minutes after her shot, Pavlichenko saw Soviet infantry moving toward the church. Boris had organized a clearing team. They'd been waiting for her signal. She'd signaled by shooting. The soldiers entered the church cautiously, rifles ready, expecting ambush, expecting the German to be alive and waiting. Pavlichenko watched through her scope, followed their movement through the ruins. They reached the 3rd floor, entered the bell tower. 2 minutes later, Boris appeared at the tower opening. He waved, all clear, target down, confirmed kill. Pavlichenko lowered her rifle. Her hands were shaking. Act 6. The Aftermath. Between August 1941 and May 1942, Lyudmila Pavlichenko eliminated 309 German soldiers. 36 of them were snipers, every kill confirmed by a witness or recovered documents. She was wounded 4 times. September 1941, mortar shrapnel. December 1941, concussion from artillery. February 1942, shrapnel to the leg. She refused evacuation each time. June 1942, ended her combat career. German mortar shrapnel hit her face, cut her cheek, damaged her eye, fractured her jaw. Doctors saved her eye. Her face would scar, but Soviet command made a decision. She was too valuable to risk. 309 confirmed kills, more than any Soviet sniper at that point in the war. If she died, it would be a propaganda disaster. Soviet command pulled her from the front in July 1942. She was 25 years old, 11 months of combat. She wanted to stay. She argued, said she could still shoot, said Soviet forces needed experienced snipers. Orders were orders. She was going on tour. Act 7. America First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt welcomed Pavlichenko to the White House in August 1942. She became the first Soviet citizen ever received there. Roosevelt was fascinated. A woman warrior, a feminist icon, living proof that women could do anything men could do. Roosevelt arranged for Pavlichenko to speak at rallies. Dozens of them. New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Washington. Everywhere she went, thousands of people came to hear her. American newspapers called her the most dangerous woman in the world. Magazines published profiles. Photographers followed her everywhere, but American press also trivialized her, asked if women wore makeup at the front, criticized her uniform as unflattering, focused on her appearance rather than her accomplishments. In Chicago, addressing trade unionists, Pavlichenko had enough. "Gentlemen," she said, "I am 25 years old and I have killed 309 fascist invaders by now. Don't you think, gentlemen, that you have been hiding behind my back for too long?" Silence. Then the Chicago workers erupted into applause and cheers. During the tour, Roosevelt invited the Soviet delegates to Hyde Park, the Roosevelt estate in New York. There, Pavlichenko spent more time with the president and his wife. Eleanor altered a set of her own pajamas for Pavlichenko. As Pavlichenko changed, Eleanor caught sight of a long, reddish scar arcing from her shoulder to her spine. "Where did this come from?" Eleanor asked. "Shrapnel wound from Sevastopol," Pavlichenko replied. "One of 4. According to Pavlichenko's later account, Roosevelt impulsively hugged me and brushed my forehead with her lips, saying, 'What dreadful ordeals you've endured.'" The two women became friends. They corresponded after the war about family news, literary items, peace congresses. In 1957, 15 years after the tour, Eleanor Roosevelt visited Moscow. Despite Cold War tensions and a Soviet government handler restricting her agenda, Roosevelt insisted on seeing her old friend. She was brought to the small apartment where Pavlichenko was living. With the handler sitting nearby, the two women spoke with cool formality in the front room. Then, with an invented excuse, Pavlichenko pulled Roosevelt into the bedroom. Alone, they embraced. Both women cried. They spent hours reminiscing about their time together in America and how their lives had developed. Act 8. Legacy. Pavlichenko returned to the Soviet Union in March 1943. Soviet command assigned her to training duty. She taught at facilities in Leningrad, Moscow, and Kiev. Hundreds of students learned her techniques: how to build dual nests, how to use decoys, how to think like the enemy, how to make yourself the predator. Some became legendary. Vasily Zaitsev studied her methods, used them at Stalingrad. His 225 confirmed kills made him the second most successful Soviet sniper of the war. By 1944, Soviet sniper doctrine had transformed. The defensive approach was gone, replaced by aggressive psychological tactics. Soviet snipers weren't hiding anymore, they were hunting. German casualty rates from sniper fire increased dramatically. Soviet sniper survival rates improved. The doctrinal change saved thousands of lives. It started with Pavlichenko deciding to use herself as bait. After the war, she married twice, had one son, lived quietly in Kiev. In interviews, she said she never enjoyed killing. She did it because fascism had to be stopped, because her country was invaded, because her friends were dying. She said every kill haunted her, every face she'd seen through her scope. She died on October the 10th, 1974, 58 years old, stroke. The Soviet Union gave her a hero's funeral. Western media barely covered her death. Cold War politics. Today, Lyudmila Pavlichenko's story exists in fragments. Military histories mention her kill count. Feminist writers cite her as proof women can excel in combat. Russian nationalists claim her as a patriotic icon. But few people understand what she actually did. She didn't just shoot Germans. She revolutionized sniper tactics. She proved that aggression could defeat skill, that psychological warfare was as important as marksmanship, that sometimes the only way to survive was to make yourself the target. Her technique using decoys and dual nests is now standard in modern sniper training. The United States Marine Corps Scout Sniper School teaches variations of her methods. The British SAS includes her tactics in counter-sniper doctrine. Israeli Defense Forces study her engagements as case studies in urban warfare. None of these organizations mention her by name. None credit her specifically. The tactics have been absorbed into general doctrine, divorced from their creator. But if visiting the Central Museum of the Armed Forces in Moscow, one can see Pavlichenko's Mosin Nagant rifle, the same rifle she used for all 309 kills, displayed in a glass case with a plaque that reads, "Rifle of Junior Lieutenant Lyudmila Pavlichenko, deadliest female sniper in history." The rifle still has her adjustments, the scope she calibrated, the stock where she carved her initials. Next to it is a photograph. Pavlichenko, at 24 years old, standing in front of a ruined building in Odessa, rifle in her hands, eyes staring directly at the camera. She looks tired, determined, unbroken. That photograph is Pavlichenko's real legacy, not the propaganda, not the medals, not the 309 confirmed kills. The legacy is in her eyes, the eyes of a woman who decided she wouldn't be prey, who decided she'd rather risk everything than follow doctrine that didn't work, who decided her life mattered enough to break the rules. Survival in war doesn't happen through following orders, not through doing what one is supposed to do. It happens through soldiers who see that doctrine is killing them and decide to do something different, who risk court-martial because their friends are dying, who use themselves as bait because it's the only way to kill the hunters. Lyudmila Pavlichenko used herself as bait to kill 309 Germans and changed how modern militaries train snipers. Her name deserves to be remembered. Stories like this matter. The people who lived them shape the world we inherit today. Subscribe to help preserve these forgotten histories. Share this with someone who values courage over conformity. The soldiers who fought in the Second World War are nearly all gone now, but their lessons endure in the freedom they fought to preserve. Remember them.